Hey guys, and Happy New Year! Welcome back to the Girlfriends and Goals podcast. My name is Samaria, and I'm joined by my best friend and co host.
Miosha.
And today we're reviewing Married at First Sight, season 18, episode 10. If you are into MAFS, into commentary on MAFS, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like this video, and please meet us in the comments to talk about this episode. Because, wow, what an episode it was. So let's get all the non-important stuff out of the way first. We can start with Allan and Madison.
Yes.
Any notes on them?
Yeah, so they sit down, take a trip down memory lane. They look through their gift box. They're looking at wedding photos. You know, at this point, I noticed that Allan is giving Madison a lot of compliments, and she's just like hysterically laughing.
She
And
does laugh to like distract from whatever is going on or maybe how she feels about the things. I have noticed that too.
yeah, it was a lot of laughing. And so from that interaction, obviously she looked like she had a great time on her wedding day. He did as well. I think there seems to be a glimmer of hope in him at this point, which the last episode I didn't get that. So I don't know what shifted, but he seems to be more optimistic than he has in the last two episodes. I just wish he would kind of start to match her energy so it isn't so one-sided. It's hard to watch him giving her all these compliments, and she's just like laughing in his face. I know maybe she's uncomfortable, but I'm just like, okay, Allan, stop.
I mean, she was the one who asked for a compliment, so technically he's just giving her what she asked for.
Right. And he must be
So
okay with it not being reciprocated.
I don't think anybody is, but he plays it off well.
Yeah.
I think this was the time when she asked, or he asked, what she thought the biggest roadblocks were. And she said, maybe let's not talk about that on the anniversary. How do you feel? Do you feel like that was appropriate for her to say? Because, yeah, I guess you don't want to talk about negative things on the 1 month anniversary. Or do you kind of wish that she would have had the conversation so that he knew the answer to that question?
Well, I think she's been honest about what the roadblocks are for her up until this point. So I understood why she's like, why talk about it today
Okay.
when we kind of already had the conversation? Let's just enjoy the day. But at the same time, because it's such a short length of time and he asked, maybe he needs it to be reiterated. I don't know. But I think he knows what it is at this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, Allan said that he can't read Madison. I feel like the fact that you can't read her should be sign enough. Like maybe that she doesn't want to be read. I think if you don't know where you stand at all with her, that's what you need to know. That maybe she doesn't want you to be able to read her. She doesn't want you to know, or maybe she's just not interested in progressing. I think if she were interested, there would be more communication about, oh, this is where I stand, or this is where I see this going. So I think she's given enough information, but he's saying that he can't really read her, and so maybe that should be a sign to him that there's not anything romantic there.
I think because she's being nice and not being mean, like some of the other people are who are paired with someone who they obviously don't want to be with, I think that's giving him a glimmer of hope. Well, because she is saying, like, well, I'm still here.
Okay.
So,
I
I don't know.
don't know. I think she keeps saying this or resting on this. Well, we did marry as strangers, and I agree with her on that. But I think at this point, maybe there should be more progress. Like, yes, you've been strangers, but you've also been living with this person for a whole month now. And so this isn't day one. Yes, they're still new to you, but you guys have shared a home for the past 30 days, shared space for the past 30 days. So I think this entire time she's going to continue to rest on that, and because it's the only thing that has some validity.
I could see that.
All right. I will say I did enjoy Allan and Madison this episode as friends, if that makes sense. So like later on, after their whole obstacle course thing that they did, where I don't know if you noticed, but Madison said something like, yeah, well, forever's a long time, which is to me another signal. But after all of that, when they were getting ready for the couple's dinner, both of them were like, I don't know, some tea might be spilled. And it seemed like they have a good energy as friends. So I hope that this process doesn't take away their possibility of being cool with each other, because they were fun to watch when they were vibing on, ooh, what's about to happen tonight? Or, ooh, there's about to be drama.
I think Madison is comfortable with him in the friendship space and doing active things, and that's it. So,
well, maybe that's all they need to be. Wrap up the season.
And I'm not even convinced that Allan feels like she's the right one. I think he's really attracted to her. But as far as being a life partner, I don't know that he's convinced of that. I just think he finds her very attractive.
Do you feel like he's taken the time to reflect on that, or do you think he's just moving forward and trying to do whatever it is that appeases her?
I don't think he's moved forward to reflect on it.
Okay. All right. By the way, over the break, we believe it was Allan, like commented on one of our videos. So that was really cool. Yeah, it was the video where we're talking about him leaving the club because he thought Madison had already left, and with the communication. And he said that there was much more to what happened, like he had been looking for quite some time. And so, yeah. Anyways, that was really cool to have that interaction with him. Next couple. Let's go to Thomas and Camille. So they start in bed with their 1 month anniversary, of course, and she says something like 1 month down, hopefully forever to go. Like, I like how y'all talking. I love the sound of that.
Yeah, all their energy to me this episode is giving. They're both all in on trying to make this work, and I'm happy for them. We have to have somebody to have hope for. So
after several seasons of having nobody, like I think the last successful couple we had was Katina.
Girl, don't even say
and
it.
Olajuwon.
And was that?
I don't think so. Are they still together? Somebody let us know.
They were so on and off, we couldn't keep up.
They've been on and off their whole marriage.
Girl.
So, all right. Camille set up a basketball game. She set up a game to break this man's ankles on national television.
Now she knows, given his age and given how flag football went, because I don't know the timing of when this was recorded, but it seemed like he was still nursing an energy. But I think I'm jumping too far ahead. So he's running late.
Yeah.
And she's a little irritated. How do you feel about her being in her feelings that he's running late?
I hate to say this because people are going to be like, oh, you just love Camille. But I would also be irritated. Like, people being late for things does bother me a little bit, especially if it's an important, 1 month anniversary type thing.
Right. I don't mind people running late because things do happen. I don't like it, but I don't mind it. I understand. It's the way you communicate it. If I'm already there and you're like, oh, I'm an hour late, why am I here? At least tell me, unless something happened in real time. So I could understand her being irritated that he wasn't there because she was already set up and ready to go. So I don't know how late he was, but he reassures her that it's going to be worth it.
And we don't know if because it seemed like she called him and then he was like, oh yeah, I'm just running a little behind. So that would be another thing. It's like, I don't know. She seems more type A, so I can understand why it bothered her.
Yeah. But, I mean, she didn't seem to let it throw off their whole time together. She made him run these little drills. Camille, girl, you have to... There's a 10-year age gap. I'm not saying that he's in bad shape, but clearly he can't keep up.
Yeah, he can't keep up with the suicides. I haven't done suicides since like high school.
Yeah.
I couldn't even keep up and I'm not 41. So,
Listen, and she's a legit basketball player. So you also make him run drills and play against you, girl.
yeah. But I know people are going to be like, "Oh, she was so condescending. She made him run drills." I thought it was all in jest. I didn't think it was a big
Yeah.
deal. He clearly didn't think it was a big deal.
Yeah.
Um, and then yeah, they played the game and she clearly won. Like she said something about she used to play in college.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
and her dad used to come to her game. So, girl, this was a Camille activity, and Thomas was just being a good sport, I think.
Oh yeah. It's definitely her thing.
All right.
Um,
Then they
but
went
yeah,
to the bourbon tasting. Not
yeah,
much there. I thought Thomas looked really nice in all of his blue. Like he had the
yeah,
different
he
shades of
does, and
blue
he still
on.
got his studs in.
His studs in, yeah. They seemed really fun. Like when he was behind the bar, he was making jokes. They seemed to vibe really
Mhm.
well. So I enjoyed watching them there. They talked about their 5-year goals, which it sounds like there's similarity there. I
Mhm.
put down for Thomas because you can never say enough good things about him. But I love to see him supporting her ambition. And
Mhm.
I thought his gift to her was very thoughtful. So he said, "Oh, you look great in red. And it's your birthstone." So I think he's amazing.
Yeah, I enjoyed that date that they had. He explained his reasoning for being late.
Hmm.
She seems to have forgiven him, and I don't want to harp too much on it. I think because at this point, I feel like we've harped on things that were already unnecessary. So Camille ended by saying she feels lucky to be matched with Tom. So I'm happy to hear that she feels that way. We clearly know that she is lucky to have him, and he's lucky to have her as well. But given that has been more vocal about the attraction and certain things, I'm happy
Yeah.
to hear her be vocal that she's progressing in her feelings towards him. So
Nice. All right. Juan and Carla.
that was all I had on them.
Hmm.
Ooh, we're breezing through these first few. Nothing to see here.
Right. I'm trying to get to the tea, y'all. Juan and Carla. We could say like a sentence about them.
Yeah.
But he takes her to the warehouse. Yo, it was so funny to me when they asked Carla, "So can you tell us what Juan, what Juan does?" She was like, "He types like Thriller." What is
You
wrong with
know,
her?
so the first thing I thought was, is this the anniversary date? But clearly it came later
Hmm.
because who in their right mind would suggest taking your partner to work as a date? But either way, the vibe I got from Carla in that whole setting is she's not taking this serious anymore at
At
all.
all.
I think she's just having fun with it because we've seen her be serious. I think she's serious by nature. So
Hmm.
this, very jovial flip in her energy, I think is I'm just getting through this. So I didn't take much of anything she said very serious, other than the fact that I do believe she left her job or was fired or they came to a mutual agreement to not work
Nah,
together, whatever that is. Other than that, I didn't take much else serious that she said the rest of this episode.
let us know in the comments. Do y'all think Carla got fired? Because I think that's what happened. Because she said she said clearly I can't be managed anymore. Yeah, I think it was something where maybe she knew it wasn't a good fit, but I believe she got let go. And so yeah, her saying I have exciting news, and then it being pretty much they didn't want me and I didn't want to be there much either. Like I need to focus on my businesses and focus on, what else is coming for me. But
Mm.
I think there's a way to talk about a woman that you're seeing, and for Juan to say you can be crazy but you can't be stupid, like I don't think you should use stupid as a descriptor when you're referring to someone who you're dating or married to, even if it is. I don't think you should use that even with a friend or a family member. I don't think you should use that with anybody, but especially not a significant other. So I didn't really like that. I think that's a strong word.
I agree. And what we find out later on is, especially with her line of work in terms of the salon piece, is she
Hmm.
still has her own clients. So she's doing her house calls. So I don't know. I feel like Juan one, he doesn't like her, but also, unless you really know
Romantically.
someone's financial situation and what all they have going on,
Mm-hmm.
it's not really much for me to comment. Like, you could tell me, oh, I'm leaving my job. I could think to myself, like, whoa, girl, let me know what's going on. Like, is there a plan? Because it may not be as stupid as it would seem. So,
Hmm.
I don't know. To me, I
Yeah.
would defer to, okay, you just don't comment until you find out more information. But
I
because he already doesn't like her, he, I don't want to say he couldn't wait to say it, but he's very comfortable with saying, don't be stupid.
Yeah, the thing is, even when they had this picnic, right? I think Juan, from the day that Carla said she'd be interested in learning about being an entrepreneur more, I think he's like now used that as the only point of connection. Like, oh, well, then I need to take it upon myself to teach her XYZ about being an entrepreneur, like him taking her to the warehouse, even how he was relating to her at the picnic. Like, okay, so now what's next? What's your plan? Are you going to call all your clients to see who wants to get their hair done? Can you do this, that, and the other? And she's like, well, I've already made those conversations. I've already had those conversations. I'll be doing house calls. I just think I don't mind him asking those questions if he were doing it from a genuine place. The way he's doing it, it's almost like I'm testing you to see how savvy you are so that I can prove that you're not savvy enough and so that I can now rise to the occasion and show you how things should be, what you should be considering, how you should be moving. I just don't care for that vibe.
And because we know he doesn't actually plan to have a future with her, as he
Mm-hmm.
clearly said later by, I'm just curious to see how her life works out, is what he basically
Mm-hmm.
said in so many words. Why even go down that rabbit hole other than to embarrass her and
Mm-hmm.
prove the point? I will say that one, if I were her, I wouldn't share much information of my business on what my plans are because you're not being genuine. Number two, we're on international television, so I wouldn't be divulging that information. Like, if you really cared about me, why would you be asking that level of specificity about rates
On
and
camera,
contracts and
yes.
this and that? Like, you're not actually invested in seeing her succeed because you would know, oh, that's a conversation we have at home later when the cameras are
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
So,
So
yeah.
that's all that I have on them.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
I don't think Carla is taking him very seriously either. Uh, One thing I did right is, for one, like, Carla aside, I
Mm-hmm.
think he should spend some time exploring what's most important to him, success or ambition, because sometimes they're connected, but not always. I mean,
You think he's ambitious and not successful?
I don't know what he has going on. More so, in the partner that he's seeking out, are you looking for someone who's ambitious and goes after the things that they want, but maybe they haven't quite attained it? Or are you open to being with someone where they've struck success and it was luck? Like,
Yeah.
especially in the last 10 years, we've seen with technology, people may have gotten successful in non-traditional ways that people don't deem as ambitious. So I don't know. I think he needs to explore what's the priority for him and what is he actually interested in terms of, like, that part of a person and how it's going to merge into his life. Because I'm getting the vibe that even if he was paired with a person who's uber successful, if he didn't deem it as like, you didn't work hard to get it or you weren't ambitious to get it,
Mm-hmm.
would he then also have an issue? But it's like, oh, they have money, they're successful, in a mainstream sense. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Fair. David and Michelle.
Okay.
Michelle and Ikechi should have been matched. Moody one and Moody two. So they could be moody with each other.
You know, I see a lot of people in comments of other videos like, oh, Michelle is what he wanted. He got his blonde hair, blue eyes. So I don't know.
Yeah. But as a commentator, like, still don't like her. Still don't care much for her as far as how she presents as a partner on this show. So he takes her to sushi, which she clearly likes, and she comes in moody, of course, and he compliments her. She says, "Thank you. Is that your date outfit?" Which, y'all are going to sushi in the day. Like, this is lunch.
And no shade to the sushi place that they were in, but it didn't look like Nobu or
Fancy.
like fine dining sushi. I mean, there's a
No.
there's a range in terms of sushi. There's very
It looked
casual.
like your local hibachi place.
And she said like, "Oh, I was thinking you'd slow." What did she say? Like in slacks and
A
coat or
blazer.
a blazer or something. And I would think most millennials don't typically dress that way. Even
We used to in our
oh
college
yeah,
days. It
yeah,
was
we
all
used
about the
to
blazer,
in 2008.
business casual
Yeah,
to
this
the
is not
core.
2008 anymore. So yeah, I that was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just another thing for her to complain about. That's all I took from it.
And then, he takes you to something that you would like, and then she's like, "Well, why did you bring me here? Why was this the date? Just sit down and enjoy." He's doing something that you've tried to get him to do before, so we know you like it. And even when he's doing something that we know you like, you still have an issue with it. And so he's like, "I know that you like this, and I was just trying to make you happy." Well, you're setting yourself up for failure because he wants to make you happy. Only I can make myself happy. Well, then, girl, do it, because we haven't seen you happy since you walked down the aisle.
Yeah, and that quickly faded. Like even when they did the playback, we saw how
Hmm.
quickly her face changed. But it, and I think her and Nkechi, the thing that they have in common is like they want to get through this process as miserable as possible and be as mean as possible.
Mean and
But
miserable, both of
yeah,
them.
mean and miserable. Just at best, it's like, okay, well, at least I can enjoy a good meal and move on. But she can't do that.
She can't. Mean, miserable, and moody. That's them. They're the three M's. But
Mm.
I said I'm ready to fight Michelle, because when he was giving the answer to, "Is this where you thought we'd be?" I
Mm-hmm.
noticed that the waitress came and interrupted. And so
Mm-hmm.
after the waitress came, then I guess conversation started to shift. And then she starts off with, "Well, since you didn't ask me," girl, give him a break. Like, we don't even know if he was finished with his answer because the waitress interrupted. So if you wanted to answer first, just offer the information. But I mean, I get what she's saying. Under normal circumstances, I understand you want someone to like ask you what you've asked them. That's how conversation works. But
Mm-hmm.
because it's like he's darned if he does and darned if he doesn't, um, it just irritated me that she did that.
And as he said, which I'm glad he did, when I've asked questions before, you barely answer. You either get upset, barely answer, or just say okay. So what is the point other than to cause more chaos?
It's She keeps moving the goalpost. So whatever he
Mhm.
is doing, she wants him to do the opposite. And then when he starts doing that, she wants him to. Because at the honeymoon, I specifically remember that she said, "Why are you asking me so many questions? Just back off a
Mhm.
little bit." And he was asking too much. And now he's not asking enough. So it's like you have to decide what you want, because this person who you're providing instruction to is trying to go with what it is you
Mhm.
desire. But if you keep changing that and then putting the blame on them because they're not changing, even though you haven't communicated what the change should be, like, it's just exhausting watching her be so miserable on television
Yeah,
and
and then
find all the issues with what he's doing. Sorry, go ahead.
he flat out asked her, "Do you think there will ever be a connection?" And this is where I lost a lot of respect for her, because this was her way of saying it was as simple as, "No, I don't think so." But she says, "Well, for the record, I'm trying."
I was like, yeah, you're trying to provoke him so that he does something negative, and then you have that as the excuse to like end the marriage. Or she's trying at making it impossible for him to make any progress with her. Like she's trying all right, but she ain't trying positive things. Yeah.
Then they go
But
back to the apartment. They look through the
oh,
stack.
sorry. There
Oh,
was
go
one
ahead.
more thing. I was just going to say I appreciated David saying, "Well, yeah, if you're trying, I need more." Because like maybe she has this idea that, oh, just because I try that should be enough, but no, your best efforts aren't giving me what I need. So now what? Okay. Back to the apartment.
But yeah, they go back to the apartment. She's like, "Oh, dinner was heavy, so I'm gonna try to have a good time." Why not just come into the dinner with that attitude? You got to drag him down, drag your own self down emotionally, because I know it can't feel good having an attitude like that. And now you finally want to have a good time. So unfortunately, David says, watching the video back, he's feeling better. I say don't. Stay in, David, stay in that energy. Don't have hope.
And was her outfit fancy to you? Because it just looked like a two piece yellow. Like there wasn't much fancy about her. Like if I had seen what David was wearing and what she was wearing and they were walking down the street, I would think, oh, that makes sense. Like what she was wearing wasn't giving, I needed to wear slacks and a blazer.
It looked like something she would have picked up at Target, Shein, Zara, where we all shop.
It was definitely, I'm sure I've seen that on Shein before.
Yeah. And another issue I have, and it's not even just with her, but it's other people who go on shows like this. When you start to nitpick a person physically, you've just opened up for the internet and everyone else to be very critical of how you present. And so, in my opinion, I think Michelle sees herself as so high above him and how she dresses, where she shops, and the restaurant she goes to. And I think the vibe I'm getting from everyone else is like, girl, this is very normal for a lot of people. And
Yeah.
so I think she's just opened herself up unnecessarily to a lot of criticism about herself physically because she's being unnecessarily critical of him.
Yeah.
If in a normal circumstance, if you're dating someone and you notice, oh, you don't maybe put together outfits that I find is a pleasing, then I would be like, okay, well, let me help you pick out something the next time. It's as simple as that. If
Very
you like the
simple.
person.
Yeah. Um, Even his reason for not wearing the blade, like, hey, I just didn't have time to, yeah, I thought I would be running late. And like, so he's walking on eggshells. He's trying to make sure he does everything so that she doesn't have anything negative to say. But even in his best, like, efforts, she will always find something to say.
Oh yeah, the
So,
goalpost keeps moving.
yeah.
What I didn't care for though, I think she said something when they were watching the video. She's like, "Oh yeah, it started off so great, and then it just goes all downhill from there." And
He was
then,
a good sport for laughing because I would be like, well, because in her vows, she said that she would always be there to make him laugh after a hard day. I'm like, whole time, she's the hard day. Like, he probably goes to work to laugh because she has given him such a hard time that the only relief he has is at his job.
so unfortunate. But then they both apologize, and I'm not saying that David is perfect, but I didn't understand what he was apologizing for.
Me neither. I said, why exactly is David apologizing? And when did we talk about what Michelle was supposed to work on? Because she said something like, yeah, we've talked a lot about what I need to work on. Have we? Because run that back. I missed it. Rewind the tape.
I wish he would just tell her focus on being a nicer person.
Just be
That
nice.
just be nice. That will make you don't even have to dress up. That will make you that much more attractive. Like
Right. Keep your
she's so
Shein stuff
focused
in the
on
closet.
she's so focused on the physical where I feel like she's neglecting the other parts of her and how she presents.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, but before we go to Kitchi and M, David did get her flowers because I guess he couldn't make it to the group dinner. So,
he did.
all right. Let's do a Kitchi and a Mem. I don't know what was going on with my recorder, but like some parts of their stuff got cut off. but I think I
No,
got
it
the
did
gist
seem
of
a
it.
little choppy. I will
Right?
say
Okay.
it did. It
Let us
did.
know if you guys had that experience too, because I'm like, did I miss stuff? But anyway, Ikechi says when they, I don't know, were they at their apartment or something? They were interacting with each other. He says, well, the score at halftime doesn't
Oh, the
indicate the score at
picnic.
the end of the game.
The picnic. Yeah, so Emem sets up this picnic, which
Yes.
I was irritated that she's the one once again putting things together. I
Hmm.
just wish she would let him put forth the effort and take the lead. He walks up with this very blah energy and attitude. And even her energy is subdued, but I think it's because of how things went during their last interaction.
Hmm.
But
Her makeup
he
looks great, though, I will
Oh
say.
yeah, she looks amazing. But yeah, he walks in, no hug, no embrace. He says, "Oh, it's our anniversary." She says, "Yeah, I didn't. Where we are is jarring." And then he says the whole, "Oh, well, the score at halftime doesn't indicate how we'll finish." And she says, "Oh, well, that's one way to look at it, but you have to be an active player, which
Hmm.
he's not being." Then
I
he
don't
very
know.
dryly says, you know, these are some of the things I'd like to do even more of.
Then
That you
plan
don't
them.
that you don't put no effort into. She's
You plan a
supposed to be
picnic and
courting
invite
you.
me. Like, even taco night, he didn't put any effort, but then pretended like, oh, well, I could have
You
done.
could have
Okay, then do it.
no.
But
No, he's just there.
I think he believes, and I agree with him. He believes he's not good enough. So that's why he keeps finding reasons for not being enough. So when you don't feel like you're enough, a person could say, "Oh, do you mind taking the trash out?" And you could be like, "Oh, well, I can't even take the trash out good enough for her. She has to be the one to ask me when to take it out." And da 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 da. It's like he keeps finding reasons that like validate this feeling of him not being enough for her because he knows he just doesn't measure up to who she is and her standards and all of those things, even though she's trying. Like, he understands himself to not be adequate.
And I think he is kind of hell bent on trying to make her feel beneath him. Like
Mm-hmm.
she isn't even worthy of just basic common courtesy and decencies. Because the second part of that conversation or the follow up to him saying, "Oh, I want to do more things like this," she
Mm-hmm.
says, "Oh, is that something that you're actively doing?" And he just looks utterly disgusted and giving her the side eye. And then he's like, "Oh," and she's like, "Oh well, no,
Okay.
yes."
Yeah.
And then he says, "Oh, there's something in my tooth." So you're not going to answer the question. So she's not even worthy enough for you to answer a simple question. So
This
he
man
clearly
is
is
so
very
miserable.
insecure. Yeah. And doesn't even think she's worth answering a simple question to.
He's like trying to punish her for being successful. I don't what is he for being a dope woman? I don't know. He's just trying to punish
Yeah.
her for his shortcomings.
Then says,
He's so
"Oh, my
dangerous.
answer isn't good enough." You didn't answer the
You didn't
question.
even answer. I said, "Is this the man who's teaching high schoolers?" Because we need to do an audit of the schools. He can't be the one teaching the
Not
kids.
even just teaching, you're mentoring and counseling for the next stage of life.
He shouldn't be
This
anybody's mentor.
and this is how you're acting on international television. Lord have
So
mercy.
and they come back to the apartment. They see the wedding vows. Of course, he has an attitude because when does he not? And I'm like, and these will be the people who are like, oh, women are so emotional. Do you see how you're acting, sir? Anyway, so he sits down looking like Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh, and he's not even like moving close to her. So she's like, "Do you want to look at the album with me?" And he's like from a mile away. Yeah. Yeah. Like, you
But once
can't
again, trying to make it seem like, oh, you're not even worthy enough for me to sit by you.
sit next to you. He is, ugh. I can't stand this man. And so he says, "Oh well, you charge me up." First of all,
Wait, no, hold on, hold on. She says, well, how do you, they look at the vows, right?
hmm
And he's like, he finally takes a look at it. She asks, so how do you feel about those vows now that you kind of sort of know me? Well, I think I meant what I said when I said it. She says, oh, well, about me? Well, we keep going back to the same point of you being charged up because my answer isn't good enough. You didn't answer the question.
and I thought it was a perfectly valid question when you wrote the vows. I understand you met them when you wrote them. You did not know me then. Now that you know me, I think people in regular relationships ask that on anniversaries, like, oh, like if you see your vows from your wedding,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, oh well, now that we're a year in, now that we're 2 years in, like, how do
How
you
do
feel
you
this
feel?
holds up? Yeah, like, do you still
Mm-hmm.
feel the same way? Have things been added? Have things been taken away? Is the perspective shifting? Like, such a valid question. And he's like, I meant them when I said them. He said, something about an answer stick. You
An
keep
answer.
hitting the bear with the answer stick. Now, as a creative, you couldn't come up with anything better than that. I'm disappointed.
But I'm gonna take it a step further, and y'all can tell me if I'm reaching. He used that analogy specifically to paint her as aggressive
Aggressive.
again. Why on earth would you feel the need to say you keep taking your answer stick and hitting the bear? Most people would say poking the bear, but
Yeah.
specifically he said you keep hitting the bear when you don't get the answer that you want. So people can envision Emim as hitting him, even though she hasn't. He's smart enough to know as to why he used that specific analogy.
But he's not smart enough to understand that people are going to see everything that happened and see him as the aggressive one, or see him as the one who's like not taking this seriously, or who came in for a clout, or whatever the case might be. Like, he miscalculated his appearance on this show, I think.
And then he couldn't wait to say, oh, well, you keep hitting the bear with the stick. You'll just see less and less of me, threatening her to remove himself from the relationship, which he has a pattern of doing because he did it again later in the episode.
Which would be a blessing because you're miserable. Like, within yourself, you're miserable. So, yeah, you can get gone.
Then the whole time she's quiet, he's like, then he says, oh, well, when I read your vows, it doesn't say that you were going to be an a-hole. I meant what I said about my vows. And then he
My
just
vows were
walks out.
solid.
Where was she being an a-hole?
Child, she you
And
for those who watch Housewives, when Nene was like, "I said what I said," and Candy was like, "Well, what you said was some bull." That's how I felt about Ikechi's vows. Like, you think your vows were solid? They were bull.
and in this instance, I don't believe that Emem is just getting a good edit. I think if they had footage of her being an a-hole to him, we would have seen it by now. I just don't believe it.
Instead, they later on in the episode are pulling up receipts like to support what she's saying. So I don't think, yeah. Anyway, I felt the same way that I felt about Juan calling or referring to Carla as stupid. That I felt here with Ikechi. Like, you just, there's a certain words you don't use towards your partner, towards any other adult, honestly. And so you referring to her as an a-hole is a no for me, especially when she's not being one. But I don't know. I think for Ikechi and men like him, you don't get to give this woman a tongue lashing because you feel inadequate in comparison to her, especially when she's asking very valid questions. I think Ikechi would know what a valid question would be to ask on an anniversary if he had been with anybody long enough since his 20s. He hasn't been with anybody long enough to have anniversaries. So he's probably just as ignorant as they come when it comes to like having longevity with someone and wanting to check in and, you know, maybe forecast what the next year or next month might look like.
Or if you even have the intention of actually being married for real
Yeah.
versus just, I don't know what his purpose is, but clearly it wasn't to be married. And if it was to clout chase or improve his image, whoa, buddy, you seriously miscalculated.
I hope his friends see this and know you just embarrass yourself coming on international television to support this type of a human being because he's trash. But anyway, so he gives Mem the silent treatment, and
Toxic.
she's like, "Hey, can we talk? Hey, I'm gonna leave the apartment or I'm gonna work late so you have space. Like, let's figure this out." Which I can't fault her for reaching out. I think, yeah, I can't fault her for reaching out over the next, 2 days, I think it was. Because whatever month it was like the 16th and the 17th.
Yeah, I wouldn't fault her, but my goodness, this man has called you aggressive, insinuated that you physically touched him in an inappropriate way when he didn't want to, uses this analogy that paints you as being violent. I wouldn't have reached out.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah. All right. Now we can finally get to the dinner. All right. So they get in the car, and it seems like a good vibe. You know, they seem to all like each other. Allan's shade was funny to me. I really like Allan.
I do too.
Allison, Madison. Allan's cool people, girl. I understand he's not like the physical type that you would go for, but girl, you should reconsider.
And what I loved about him is he wasn't afraid to speak up and say something. I love that
No,
kind of energy. So as
I
much
do.
as Madison wants to be like, oh, he lacks confidence,
Yeah.
where he lacks confidence, there were other men who were there who didn't say a peep.
It gives protector energy, you know, and I think that's a positive. But he said, well, shout out to David who had to work, and that's it. So I said, I wonder if he and Mem are friends because that's what it seemed like.
Like he
Um,
already kind of knew.
New.
But even I think Juan may have kind of knew something too because the way he was just couldn't wait to play devil's advocate, which why?
I'm like, Juan and Kitchi have been talking, you know? Anyway, so they get to the dinner, which I think I wrote down the name of the restaurant because I'm like, when I'm in Chicago, I want to check that place out, the Gray.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, so Camille and Thomas shared their relationship update, and
And she
everybody was
could wait. Whatever's going on, homegirl is
she was
happy.
giddy.
Couldn't wait to spill it. And Tom is just like, yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, it was really cute. I'm so happy for them, and I hope that they last. But you know, she talked about how she had to open up and work through things, and you know, him being a receptive partner helped her do that. You know, like him being someone who wasn't just like shutting her down or not creating space for her to be. And so I don't know. I think that is what good relationships look like, where it's like you give the other person time and space to grow. No, they don't need to keep like going on and on about things that you don't possess or whatever, what you need to possess, but giving that space for them to be able to come around and understand that you're an understanding partner, a receptive partner. I think, I don't know, I've enjoyed watching their progression. Um, yeah. Anyway, when it came to Carla and Juan, Carla said, well, I'm happy with where I am. Emphasis on the I. I don't know about being a couple, but I'm good. That was what her whole
Yeah,
summary gave to me.
yeah, this whole episode. Yeah, she's there but checked out and not taking him seriously at all since he likes to laugh and joke so much. He's on
He's
that
either
same
laughing and
energy.
joking or trying to be her professor.
But adding little value.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, but I will say it doesn't look good for Carla that she doesn't have a home and now she doesn't have a job. It's not looking too great, my sister. I'm sorry.
Mm-mm. Not at
Yeah.
all. Yeah, because this show aside, real life goes on.
Yeah. Okay. So they're all having a really good time.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh yeah,
it's
David walks in.
no, no, no.
Oh, not yet.
Does David walk in first? No, Ikechi walks in
Oh,
first.
Ikechi walks in. Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right.
Because I remember that part because you could tell the difference.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're having a good time. Ikechi walks in, and
Dun,
Michelle's
dun,
like, "Where
dun.
you been?" Now, I don't agree with Michelle about anything. How dare you, Ikechi, have me Team Michelle? How
For
dare
once.
you
For
bring me to
once.
a place where I'm seeing eye to eye with Michelle? So he walks in. Michelle's like, "Where have you been?"
Chilling.
And chilling. Which, first of all, he doesn't know how questions work. So when someone says where, the answer is usually a location because like where means like a place. So
Now,
chilling,
what have you been doing?
right,
Where have you
exactly.
been?
So it's not the response, it shouldn't be a verb to where. But anyway, Mr. High School mentor and teacher, you should know that. Anyway, so Alan was like, I hate to say this, but is that an excuse to miss half the dinner?
And he said it in a joking way, not even to me super serious, but he still said it.
It felt like one of those facts come through jokes type of
Hmm.
jokes.
Oh
Like,
yeah. But if Ikechi, I think, knew or was smart enough to care about his image, he would have made something up. It's almost like he kind of wants to be seen as the a-hole. And because in my mind, if I'm in his situation, it's quick. I would have been like, yeah, I had work ran late, I had a meeting, but I'm here. But he don't know.
where his career would work run late.
But it could have been work. It could have been, oh, I wasn't feeling well earlier today. You don't know how to hold it together just a little bit.
You can't even lie straight.
Come on, for your own image.
Good luck
I would
selling
need
those
to.
books. Good luck selling that poetry.
You're at 41 years old and you don't know how to fake it until you make it.
He came in and brought the whole mood down. And so I said, I know that's right, Alan. Have your friends back. And so, of course, Ike is defensive because questions are like his kryptonite. Uh, but Carla, in her one on one, or I think she was standing
Hmm.
next to Juan, she was like, "Ooh, this ish is about to go down." Like, this cast is funny. I really enjoy watching them.
Mm-mm.
But anyway, after Ikechi comes and brings the whole mood down, David comes in.
What up, David?
He literally, like, it reminded me of what Michelle said she wanted in a guy because she wanted someone who was charismatic, who walks in the room and lights it up. You
Hmm.
could literally see, even MM was just like, she lit up when he came in.
Hmm.
Camille did her little dance. Like, you can tell that
People like
people
him.
love David.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, so,
Oh, jeez.
and then Michelle in her diary was like, no smile. It sounds like he came on his break, which is awesome. That's great. Yeah, it's great. Like she was so mad that he did something positive
And yet he got the response that he did from everyone, being so
because
happy
it's
to
like,
see
why
him.
don't
She
you
can't
like it?
stand
I'm
it.
not, some of the reasons are valid. I just wish, she would have a conversation with him about that and try to progress. But it's like, girl, she was so mad she had to acknowledge something positive he did. Like at this point, who is forcing you?
Mm-mm.
So anyway, I just wanted to talk about David, but back to Ikichi.
Mm-hmm.
So Camille asks him, "What's really good?
That's
Like
good. Let's see.
what's really good?" And he says, I'm good. I have no peace in my home, so I take my peace.
And I'm just trying to have peace here in the moment. Are you trying to have peace in the moment,
Nothing
Camille?
about you is peaceful. You're the one who brings chaos to your home. You're chaotic.
Oh
And
my
then in
God.
my home, first of all, you don't even pay for this place, Ikechi, so calm down. Savannah, slow down. Like, relax. So, yeah. But he says, I don't want to talk about married life with y'all.
But
So
you're
you
on
don't
the
want to
show.
talk to MM.
Had an attitude with Dr. Pia. Don't want to
Don't
talk
want
to
to
the
talk about
group.
it with the people in the experiment. So who, you just don't want to, okay. You just don't want to be in the experiment. Okay, take yourself out then. Like, he was a lot. And so Michelle was like, so why'd you come? Like,
And he couldn't wait to say, "Oh well, if you don't like it, I could leave."
and you should. Michelle's better than me. Bye. The dinner's over. We done ate. So
Then he
why you
says,
here?
"Oh well, I'm here to celebrate y'all, but there's nothing to celebrate." And Alan says, "Well, don't you think that's an insulting thing to say?" He's like, "No, my wife makes me feel like S in so many ways." Houseway.
Confusion. Confusion.
And I
I'm
love how
like,
the men try to follow up. Obviously, he shoots it down, where they're like, "We're really trying to understand the issue. Talk specifics." He can't because there isn't any.
it's all created in his head. He doesn't feel like ish. And so now he's projecting that on her.
And then Juan finally says something impactful and says, "Well, in this process, none of us will fully be at peace because of the nature of what we have going on. Like, this isn't meant to
Yeah.
be super comfortable. Why are you here?"
Well, I said, we all uncomfortable. You ain't special.
Welcome to the club. I got a fairy over here I'm dealing with.
I will say it was nice to see the cast step up and support MM because at this point she didn't even have to say a word. And I was very like,
Love to
I
see it.
appreciated them, for
Hmm.
stepping up and supporting her in the way that they did. But yeah, and then he tries to he, I don't remember what it was that finally got MM talking.
Well, the girls got up and went to the restroom. Well, she snaps and she says, "Oh, well, I've been trying with you. I've texted, I've called." He claimed he texted and called her.
Because Juan
Boom.
said, let's try to keep it positive. And she's like, I've
Hmm.
tried to keep it
Yeah.
positive. Like, I've been checking on this man. And, he's like, you ain't called me. You ain't text me. He
Liar.
probably had her number blocked or something so it wouldn't come to his phone. So he could be like,
Hmm.
see, here, she ain't called me. She ain't text me. He probably
Hmm.
changed his number. He's petty enough to do it. I
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprised.
And
But
then
yeah,
the
so
girls go to the restroom.
yeah, so
Yeah.
she like is snapping on him, and Carla's like, "Mm." She calls her MM. MM. Let's go to the bathroom. Which I love being a woman because Carla says, MM, let's go to the bathroom, and everybody was like, we going to the
Okay.
bathroom. Like, I love it. I love being a woman because you just
Mhm.
know what's up. Anyway, so they get to the bathroom. They try to collect her and talk to her and all this
Mhm.
stuff. Camille was ready to go up.
Right. Because how dare you, Mr. Woke Black Man, treating this black woman like this on TV and calling her aggressive?
He ain't woke at all. He's in hibernation. That's how unwoke he is.
Whew.
And so he's at the table with the guys, and they're trying to figure stuff
Yeah.
out. He's
Like,
like,
what's.
that's why I didn't want to be here. So much negativity is so much. You brought the negativity. Everybody was vibing, and then you came in. You brought the negativity, which I'm assuming is what you do in your home. Is you bring
Yeah.
like you could be planning dates. You could, because that's even what her cousin said.
Hmm.
Like you could be planning dates. You could be doing the things or introducing the things that you want to do, but you just sit here and expect her to perform for you so that you can tell her performance wasn't good enough.
Mm-mm.
Where they do that at? So yeah. So he's talking to the guys, and then the women come And the women come back instantly.
Gets up. So sassy. I'm out of here.
Everybody wasn't even done talking. So you don't even want to finish the conversation you were having. You planned, oh, as soon as she comes back, I'm gonna get up and leave.
Mm-hmm.
Is this high school? I'm sorry.
That is, you do not want to be an enemy of this man. It's not a safe place to be in.
He's very scary, very dangerous, very aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, and so he tells the producer after playing his mind game of waiting for her to come back before he leaves, because you had a good 20 minutes that you could have left while they were in the bathroom fixing makeup and chatting. He tells the producer, she's childish. I can't I'm not sitting next to that. She's childish.
To that.
She's
How
childish.
disrespectful. Not to her, to that. Reduces her to an
An
object.
object. First of all, if she's childish, why are you the one giving the silent treatment? I'm sorry, that's immature. That is very immature. Like, she's immature, but you can't even compute how to sensibly answer a question when someone asks you where you've been. You're talking about chilling. Come on, let's be very real. He's like, I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but I'm somebody's Hennessy and Coke. Hennessy and Coke. You're not even somebody's juice box at this point. I like you can't.
Keep the Hennessy out of this.
Right. Hennessy is
No
like, now
part
why
in
am I
it.
in it?
Why am I here?
Oh man. Anyway, back at the table, Juan tries to say something, and
You could tell
I just
Paula's over it with him, this whole playing devil's advocate, because
yeah.
the clear disrespect that's going on, even when David tried to step up and be like, all right, let's just move the conversation forward. I don't think it was because he was taking Akechi's side. I think it was to protect Emem from
Because he
further
said that later.
disrespect.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because he was like, I just didn't like how he was talking to you. And
yeah.
so I just thought, if we could shut the conversation down. And that's when the memo was like, he talks to me like that in private, which we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think after
Oh,
that,
and and then one thing I want to add,
Mhm.
he reiterates with the producer that all of this is because he didn't want to have sex with her. So once again,
Yes.
portraying her to be kind of predatory, and she's so, was she eager to be married? Yes. Was she excited to be in the process? Yes. Was this woman coming onto you physically and she thought that it wasn't wanted? No. Like, cut the BS.
Yeah. And then he's like, oh, well, she completely shut down. I'm sorry, if someone shut down, they wouldn't be planning a picnic for you. If someone shut down, they wouldn't invite you to their workplace. If someone was shut down, they wouldn't reach out to you because they don't know your whereabouts. They wouldn't be sending you messages saying, hey, I'm going to stay at work so you can have your space and maybe we could talk later. That's not someone shutting down. You've shut down because you're moody and miserable. And
Yeah.
so
And
he
just
goes and he
being
packs his
mean.
stuff, and that's probably the best he could have done. Because even like earlier in the episode, after the conversation that they had, and she went to the bathroom and like turned on the water and cried, like, yeah, I don't know. Based on the previews, it looks like they're gonna have other conversations.
Well, and Mem calls out, she says right before they wrap up the episode that he was hoping he got with someone less educated that he could pull a fast one on. So her eyes have been opened. My fear is maybe the experts get their fingers involved and convince her to stay in the process, which I would really hope not, because she would just be subjecting herself to more craziness from him. But she's already on to it. So I don't know what these previews mean. But before we talk about the previews, I gave Samaria a question yesterday as we were watching the episode, because Ikechi, I feel like, kind of has taken the cake for the craziest behavior I've seen since I've been watching the show, which hasn't been every season, I'd say. But If you watch Love is Blind, I want to pose the question to y'all, and y'all please answer in the comments. If you had to date for 90 days, either of these two men, which would you pick? A is going to be Ikechi, and B is going to be Tim from Love is Blind, season 7, I believe it was. This last season that just wrapped up.
Mm-hmm.
A is Ikechi, and B is Tim. 90 days, you have to date them exclusively. And what is your answer?
First of all, you asked me. I had to answer, and you never. Did you answer?
Mm-mm.
She always does. What is your answer? Tell the people.
I would go with Tim all day.
You
Tim.
have to. All he
Yeah.
gonna be doing is calling himself a dog. Long as you keep the kitchen clean.
You clean, you keep everything tidy, you make sure he has his meals.
If
And
his parents come,
yeah, make
don't
sure
sleep.
when his parents are come, you're on your best behavior. I think you'll be good. Probably have yourself, a good time. But yeah, Ikechi would be a hard,
Hard pass.
absolutely not. But yeah, this is all in good fun, y'all. Y'all chime in the comments.
All right, and we'll see you guys after next week's episode. Bye.
Bye.